everyone on Zoom. I'm going to be muting you, and then we'll be able to hear from you after service. So thank you for being here. Well, welcome to Northern Lights Spiritual Center. We are a community of people dedicated to using spiritual and practical principles to create lives we want to live. Northern Lights Spiritual Center offers practical and spiritual tools to make positive changes in our lives. We at Northern Lights Spiritual Center acknowledge our presence here on the traditional, though unceded, ancestral lands of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish and Salish peoples. These people are still here, and we join with them in how they continue to honor and bring to light their ancient heritage. We seek to resist the erasure of indigenous histories as we work towards honoring and inviting the truth. Please join me if you want in our opening song, In This Very Room, by Ron and Carol Harris. In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough peace and quite enough power to walk through our every fear. For Spirit, sweet Spirit, is in this very room. In this very room.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning. Oh, someone's not muted. Thank you. Hi. So we're going to go into our meditation this morning by allowing ourselves to get comfortable in our seats. Placing our hands in an open and upright position in our laps. Allowing our eyes to close. And we're going to take 3 deep cleansing breaths in and out together. So let's breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in again. And breathe out. And one more breath in. And out. And just allowing our breath to come back to its normal pattern of in and out. Let us do a survey of our body starting at our feet and moving up to the top of our head for any place that's holding on. And if you find such a place, just say to it, relax, release, and let go. Just relax, release, and let go. So just let everything go. Let it all go. By seeing ourselves, see yourself looking at yourself. And in looking at ourselves, say to yourself, I see the God in you. I see the God in you. See the God in yourself. I see the God in you. And so now bring to mind someone that you really love. Someone that is very special in your life. It doesn't matter if they're still present on this planet or they've already made their transition. Just bring them to mind. See them. Experience them. Bring them to mind. And now say to them, I see the God in you. I see the God in you. Call them by name. I see the God in you. And now bring to mind someone that you may not know very well. Someone that you may not necessarily have a strong connection with. Bring them to mind. Now say to them, I see the God in you. I see the God in you. And now bring to mind that someone that you may not particularly care for. They're not your favorite person. Bring them to mind. say to them, I see the God in you. I see the God. So now give thanks for this journey. This journey of seeing God in all people. Not just the ones that we love, but in all people. And so now as we come back into this room, coming back into this space, we come back with the knowing that God is in everyone. That God is everyone. And commit right now to see the God in everyone. And so it is. And so, this morning's reading is actually a prayer that was written by Reverend Elizabeth Caton, and she's an Episcopal priest. And it goes this way. It says, Dear God, this new day has dawned with this country more divided than it has been since the days of the Civil War. Half of your people are rejoicing, while the other half are stunned and sore afraid. And it's sore, S-O-R-E, afraid. What divided us then continues to tear at the seams of the fabric of this nation. We are a united, divided states. Help us to remember that the experiment called democracy is not over. It is still being tested. After 240 years of existence, the final results are not yet in. We still have work to do. It stretches out before us, across wheat fields and desert, from the mountains to the prairies, from sea to shining sea. In the midst of our sense of victory, help us to remember your call to us to love one another as you love us. In the midst of our sense of defeat, help us to remember that you still reign. You alone are worshipped. You alone are God. Help us to put aside our own feelings, jumbled and confused as they may be at this moment, in service of others, our families and friends and neighbors here and around the world. Help us remember your high calling to us to be agents of forgiveness and reconciliation, love and peace, healing and hope in a world made dark by fear and hatred and brokenness. Help us to rebuild this nation by seeking out your image in the face of others, finding the best in us to serve those who are at the least, the lost and the lonely. Help us remember the words of one of your servants of old who reminded us that perfect love casts out fear. Help us perfect our love. We are your people. You know us by many names. You are our God. We know you by many names. May we find strength in our diversity and seek the courage to live into what is written on every piece of currency in this nation. In God we trust. In God we trust. For only in you can we live in safety. Only in you will we find justice. Only in you will we know the peace that passes all human understanding. Amen. And so it is.
So this month's chant is, I look to the wisdom that's fed hearts and souls. I learn from the teachings that make me more whole. I sip from the fountains that quench my life's thirst. I feast on eternal truth that places me first. To see, to be, to become one with expanding divinity. So please sing it as you would like, or just be sung to. I look to the wisdom that's fed hearts and souls. I learn from the teachings that make me more whole. I sip from the fountains that quench my life's thirst. I feast on eternal truth that places me first. To see, to be, to become one with expanding divinity. And then the second verse is you. You look to the wisdom that's fed hearts and souls. You learn from the teachings that make you more whole. You sip from fountains that quench your life's thirst. You feast on eternal truth that places you first. To see, to be, to become one with expanding divinity. We look to the wisdom that's fed hearts and souls. We learn from the teachings that make us more whole. We sip from the fountains that quench our life's thirst. We feast on eternal truth that places us first. To see, to be, to become one with expanding divinity. And back to I look to the wisdom that's fed hearts and souls. I learn from the teachings that make me more whole. I sip from the fountains that quench my life's thirst. I feast on eternal truth that places me first. To see, with expanding divinity. No, they are.
Mm-mm.
No, they are. Now I get it. One moment, please. Un momento. Okay. So they can see this. Yes, they can. They can't see you, but they can scratch. Well, they might see that.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to those of you on Facebook and those of you on Zoom. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm Pamelagrace, Reverend Pamelagrace. And Mykal, thank you for setting all of this up for me. As I was thinking about our talk this morning, or my talk this morning for you, this song that I used to love as a teenager came to mind. So I'm going to do something a little radical and sing it. And it does relate to what I have to say. One pill makes you larger, and one pill makes you small. And the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice for when she's 10 feet tall. And if you go out chasing rabbits and you know you're gonna fall, tell them all hookah, this smoking caterpillar has given you the call. Go ask Alice when she was just small. When the men on the chessboard get up and tell you where to go, and you've just had some kind of mushroom, and your mind is moving low, call Alice. I think she'll know when all logic and proportion has fallen sloppy dead, and the white knight is talking backwards, and the red queen's lost her head. Remember what the dormouse said. Keep your head. Keep your head. So you might wonder, or maybe you don't, what has that got to do with today's topic? I'm talking about a house divided. It connects to what our practitioner, Stephanie, talked about this morning in her reading. Obviously, we all know about this house divided. The biggest divide is the left and the right. But there are many, many divisions besides that. We're divided by our differences. And we have differences, if you look at the world, that are many, many cultures, many preferences on food, on clothing, on how we run the state, the government, our homes, our families, clothing choices, grooming choices. We have all these differences. And what happens so frequently is we get stuck on these differences. I mentioned to some friends that I've noticed that sometimes when I close my eyes, I don't know if I'm hearing the left or the right speaking, because I'm hearing anger, fear, lack of openness to other ways of seeing and being from both sides. I've come to the conclusion that one side is not all stupid, and one side is not all smart. All logic and proportion have fallen sloppy dead. So we have these differences, and we cling to these differences. I was working for a manufacturing company, a national manufacturing company, and training their people in their plants that made all this stuff. And one of the supervisors said to me, as I was showing them Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the supervisor said, "Oh yeah, well, the people who work here, they don't fall into this hierarchy." As you notice, the hierarchy, according to Maslow, is that people first need all their physical needs met. They need to have homes, shelter, if you will, food, clothing, safety, warmth. Those are the basic needs everybody needs to have. I don't care who they are. And as they climb up the ladder, the safety needs, feeling safe, the social needs, being connected to others, the esteem needs, having something that they can be proud of, or feeling like they're contributing, or feeling like they're worth something, to the ultimate, according to Maslow, self-actualization, where they are living truly into whom they are. So according to these couple of guys in the manufacturing plant, the people were all down there at the bottom of it. They didn't have any self-actualizing. They didn't have any higher needs other than just to make some money, come to work, make some money, go home, watch TV, drink beer. However, in talking to the people that they were talking about, I discovered they had a shadow Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Yes, it did look like they just came there for the pay and they went home and they didn't care about the company, and yeah, it sounded like they drank beer and watched television and went to sleep and started all over again. But that wasn't the truth. They had their own version of their needs. They had their own dreams. One of them saw himself building a sailboat and sailing across the ocean. Another had a vision of his kids going to college, which he never did. Another wanted her child to be a nurse. She had always wanted to be a nurse, and she wanted her daughter to get good grades in school so that she could be a nurse. So they have these dreams, and they have these ways of self-actualizing that the supervisors knew nothing about. What that said to me is that the we-they that they had in that manufacturing plant was wrong. There was just a different way of doing things, but they were not different themselves. That's important to remember as we look at people and say, excuse me, they're different. They're not like us. The immigrants who come from another country and settle down next door may not run their households like we do. They may not eat the foods like we do. And I say we because even this we has a broad spectrum of what we do and how we do it. The we who we think are all the same. But the bottom line is we all have these basic things that are important to us, but they show up in different ways. We've heard a lot about embracing differences. And I look at I'll just use our city, Seattle, and the differences we have and the choices we have, the places we can go, the foods we can eat. If we only could have McDonald's, no offense, McDonald's, that would be interesting, right? Not so much. So it's a blessing to be able to have all of these differences commingled in our society. We see it in our commercials, we see it in the movies. It's just amazing. So some of these ways that are different are amazingly good. And some perhaps not so much. One of the things that gets in the way of, or one of the things I believe has created the Great Divide, as we've seen since these past 4 years, there are some of us who say we knew all those attitudes existed all along. But what we have not seen is how big this divide was. How many people were feeling very different from the majority. I heard people in Seattle say, well, we live in a bubble. And now that bubble is burst. They were right. They were living in a bubble. Even I was living in my own bubble. I knew those people on the other side of the political fence. I knew they existed. And I knew a little of how they thought. I learned that a long time ago. I went to Washington State University, and we used to go over to Idaho to drink before we were 21. Because you could. It was legal at 19. But there were certain places I didn't go in Idaho. There were certain bars I didn't go in Idaho. And there were even more places and bars the black guys didn't go to in Idaho. Because you wouldn't walk out of them. So we knew that there was this element. We even knew it in Seattle when my father and a group of other black men, when I was a kid, used to follow the police around. They would watch them on their rounds and follow them so that when they arrested a black man, they wouldn't beat him to death before they got him to jail. Yes, this was back in the 60s. And on top of that, my father said that they always included a woman in their group because the police wouldn't turn on them if there was a woman with them. These days, that would make no difference. So we have known about the underbelly, we black people, in my years and before of the United States. But lately that underbelly has become very, very prominent. I think that's part of the reason why the song came to my mind this morning. Because in the midst of this chaos and this wildness and the white knight talking backwards and the red queen off her head, somebody has to be grounded. Somebody has to hold the high watch. Somebody has to not be pulled to the extreme left or the extreme right. Somebody's got to take the middle path, as the Buddhists call it, the middle way, not the extremes. So listening. What I heard as the Capitol was stormed were people who said they hadn't been listened to, they hadn't been heard. America wasn't hearing them. So now they were going to be heard. They were making a statement. They wanted everybody to hear. I have wondered about certain Americans as manufacturing left America, as jobs left America. Detroit Motor Company, major manufacturing. The company I worked for was one of the last of the big American manufacturing companies, and they still outsourced a whole lot of their stuff. So this was still taking jobs away from people in America, because it was so much cheaper to outsource. And I won't mention the fact that certain shareholders made a lot more money when you outsource. I won't mention that. You didn't hear that. So these folks have not been heard. We didn't hear about them until the last 4 years in general. Going back to that bubble popping, oh my gosh, there are thousands, millions of people in this country who are unhappy, besides the ones we already know about. Oh my gosh. We weren't listening. Also, perhaps they weren't talking. So, listening becomes so important. I am aware of the many times I didn't listen when I had the opportunity. And many of us listen only to the point of, like the slide says, until we can get our opinion in. So we're not really listening to understand the other person. We're listening to convince them that we're right and they're wrong. And there are times when listening is really, 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 really hard. You can tell I have a little feeling around that. There are times when really, I heard it, you said it a million times, I don't need to hear it again. But sometimes that person who's saying things a million times doesn't feel heard. So they keep saying it, and saying it, and saying it. Sometimes what they're saying is just horrendous. I won't give the examples I've personally heard because they were horrendous. I couldn't believe the people were saying what they were saying, and I didn't handle it well. I backed off, moved away from them, didn't want to be there. But if we can allow ourselves to actually hear these contrary opinions, these opinions that are just, are you really saying that? Is that what you really think about people who are different from you? Do you hear yourself? If we can back off a little bit of that, excuse me, and maybe do inquiries. Since I've gotten older, I have gotten a little bit better but I've gotten better at not rejecting people offhand when they say something so utterly racist or stupid or dangerous that I'm thinking I don't want to ever see this person again. I've moved away from that because what I found is everybody says something utterly stupid, racist in some form, or a little bit, ooh, crazy. Everybody does it now and then, once in a blue moon. We all have those moments. And I found that the quiet approach. I'll tell you a little secret. When I was a flight attendant, we had to be very nice to the passengers, no matter what they said, no matter what they did. Sir, please don't leave your overhead baggage stuff here in the aisle. You have to put it in the overhead baggage so we can get through the aisles. I found the secret is that I could say anything to people if I said it with a smile and quietly. I did. Because if you don't move it, sir, we'll have to remove you from the airplane. It worked. Rather than get all, you can't do that, it's dangerous to everybody else, or I'm going to get the pilot. Nope, just be quiet. We'll have to remove you from the airplane. The other thing I found very helpful is to release my judgment of it. And sometimes to just look at the person, let them say what they're saying, and say, well, that's how they feel. Because I have yet to argue with a person who had some strong feelings about something and change their mind. I have yet to win an argument. When someone decides that all apples have worms in them and they're not going to eat them, end of story. I may say in my nice little flight attendant voice, well, you know, I had an apple yesterday that didn't have a worm in it. But if that person has said, oh, my apples have worms in them, well, I'm so sorry. Moving on. So that doesn't mean that we roll over. It doesn't mean that we give up on our opinions or what we think. It does mean that we stop trying to convince other people to think our way if it's clear that they're determined not to do so. And we don't know until we give it a try. I have been amazed at what a little quiet truth-telling can do. Now, granted, sometimes you have to shout, scream, get out in the streets and march. Absolutely. I fully support that, except for storming the Capitol. However, one of the things that we so often forget, and I've seen this over and over again, is that we have more personal power than we use. We feel like things are out of our control, we're just one voice. But we never know when we're using our voice who we're impacting and who they might impact, or how they might just take a moment to see things differently. I had a wonderful manager when I was doing some project work for the CASA program, Court-Appointed Special Advocates for Foster Children. She was the director of the program. And I had lots of ideas. I was doing a project for them, and as I was discovering things, I was like, ooh, that could be changed, and this could be fixed, and ooh, we could do this, and we should do that. You know how I get those little eager beavers who are new, and they just come in with all these new ideas. And the people who have been there, done that, say, here we go again. Tried it, didn't work, not going to do it again. Well, this wonderful manager never did that. What she would do instead was say, well, why don't you go back and get some more data while I think about it? And I am sure that she said no to me sometimes. I don't remember what she said no to because she said so many, okay, that's good, now go present it to the supervisors. Now, I will tell you that I thought once I do all the data and put the argument up for the case, that she would present it to the supervisors, because they were her supervisors. I was not a supervisor. But she would have me do it. And I was used to, in my other companies, my boss taking credit for my ideas. This one said, oh no, Pamela, you tell them. And they got accepted. And we worked with it. I listened to their, well, yeah, but, and oh, but, and what if, buts, and fixed them. We have more power than we use. We have more power than we even know. And we have more opportunities to use that power than we take advantage of. The slide that says Power Team. Inside us, we're always talking about this, is an intelligence. And it's an intelligence that's bigger than we are. And it's at our beck and call, should we open up to it. So we're not doing it alone, as we sometimes think. We got help. Should we open up to it? Should we accept it? Should we believe there is help? We have it. We have it. We just need to take time out and feel into ourselves and open up to the power and the intelligence that is running through us and everything else. Because there is this intelligence. There is an order to this universe, whether we see it or not. It's there. And that intelligence is within us. And in this time where we have our enforced time out, doesn't he look happy? No, he's not so happy. He is truly waiting for his time out to start. And so are we. We're like, okay, it's almost over. It's almost over. We can get back to normal. Normal is never going to be normal again. Normal is going to be a new normal. We are going to be continuing to be called to adjust to something different. So here we are in this enforced timeout, but it has a silver lining. Folks have gotten to know folks better. Folks have become more creative about how they work, how they teach, how we learn, what we learn. I don't know how many of you are taking online classes, but I am. Oh, isn't that fun? Just think about the poor kids and the teachers who never taught online classes before, who are now having to figure out how to make their lessons go online. I have one minister friend who is a classroom helper, and they give her the children who just can't deal with online training, online teaching. And we have teachers who are saying, okay, no eating in the classroom, sit up, no drinking in the classroom, pay attention. And there are some children who just can't do that to a screen. My friend got a couple of them. And one of them said, well, you know, I'm ADHD and I'm blah, 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 and I'm hyperactive, and he was 8 years old, and he had a whole list of labels that had been put on him that he had bought into, whether he understood them or not. And the other kid was falling off his chair and putting his head on the table and carrying on. So my friend said to the little one with the labels, well, you know, I don't care if you get to 4th grade or not. You can stay in 3rd grade for the next 4 years. I don't really care. So it's up to you. You decide if you want to continue trying to understand and learn, or if you just want to hang out and play with your phone where we can't see. It's up to you, because I don't care. And he was like, no, you're supposed to care. And then the other one that was falling off the table or onto the table, she said, what's the matter with you? Were you tired? And he said, yes. And she said, are you hungry? And he said, yes. Remember, you can't eat in the classroom. And she said, well, go in the kitchen and get something to eat. And he says, no, my mother won't allow that. And she said, did you ask your mother? He says, no, because she won't allow that. Well, Mom overheard, and Mom slid a little Lunchables across to him, thinking that nobody would see it on the camera. And my friend said, is that Lunchables? And he said, yes. But you know you can't eat in the classroom. So my friend said to Mr. Labels, so Labels, do you mind if Hungry eats? He's hungry. It'll help him keep his attention on what we're trying to do here. Can we make a little exception to the rule and allow Mr. Hungry to eat while we're teaching? And Label said, okay. Was the cutest thing ever. So Mr. Hungry got to eat his Lunchables, and Mr. Labels got to feel like he was in control of something. Like his opinion mattered. I admit, my friend is very good at what she does. So, we've got this enforced time out, which allows us to choose to take time in, to look at how we are managing our lives. Where are we not listening? Where are we leaning too far to the left? I'm assuming everybody I'm talking to is on the left. But if you're on the right, well, where are you leaning too far to the right? Where do we need to balance ourselves out? Where do we need to listen more deeply? And where do we need to speak more honestly? Where are those opportunities for us to be the middle way during these times of chaos and change? I can't answer those for you, but you can. Take that time out as time in and take a look at who we are and what we are and where we want to be for this year. So thank you so much for being here. I am going to call on our practitioner to come and put a close to this talk. It's good to see you all. Stop sharing.
Let's just breathe that all in and let it go. And just know that right where we are, God is, and all is divine and all is well. As we stand in this place, we know that we are the ones being called to heal this great divide. And as we heal it, we see that this divide is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. We are united. We are one. We embrace our similarities and we embrace our differences, knowing that they are all God and they are all good. We celebrate each other. We listen to each other. We love each other. For in doing this, we are loving ourselves. We're loving the God within. And so we know that we are safe. That it's safe to love. It's safe to accept. It's safe to be. We listen when it's time to listen. We speak when it's time to speak. For we allow the God within to guide and direct. We are safe. All our needs are met. We can live from this place of being self-actualized. and allow the God that is within to operate through our lives each and every moment of each and every day. And so let us celebrate. Let us celebrate this time. Let us celebrate who we are. Let us celebrate the victory of coming together as one. And so from this place of celebration, I give thanks. I give thanks for the word. I give thanks for all that have listened. I give thanks for us moving forward, knowing the truth about ourselves and each other. I'm just in a place of gratitude, in a place of thanks. And from this place of thanksgiving, I simply release this word to the perfect action of the law. I let it go and I let it be. And I seal this for all eternity by saying Ashe.
Ashe.
Amen.
Amen.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you, Stephanie, for that beautiful closing prayer. And thank you, Reverend Pamelagrace, for walking us through this divide that we're experiencing. I just want to thank everyone who is present today, either Zoom or Facebook or here in the center, knowing that we are here for a greater purpose, and that in that purpose we stand on sacred ground. Wherever you are is sacred ground.
Yes.
Because you say so, because you make it that way. And we here at Northern Light Spiritual Center have declared this space sacred and safe. And I give thanks for all those who supported this center, support us, each of us that are here in this center. Whatever way you've done it, with prayers, with just greetings, with just holding consciousness, or with your gifts. Because this life that we live, this life that we choose to live, is guided by who and what we are. And so if we'll be here again next week, and Reverend Vaughn will be speaking, and the following week will be our Practitioner Sunday, where Stephanie, our practitioner, will be speaking. You had a little taste of her today, so if you want more, come on back. But she does give homework, so, which is a good thing.
But you can eat.
Oh, but you yes.
You can eat while you're doing it.
But you can eat while doing that. Okay. And so with that, I just want to say, if you would care to donate to Northern Light Spiritual Center, you just go to our website, which is northernlightspiritualcenter.com, and you can hit the donate button. And your donation not only helps us in the center, but we also tithe out to the world. And we tithe to our home, I guess our home church, which is Center for Spiritual Living in Golden, Colorado. We tithe to Baby Watoto, which that helps save babies. And we also tithe to UNICEF. And so with that, I just want to give thanks for any time you have tithed, any time you have given, for anything you have given, for everyone that's walked through these doors, that sat in these chairs and felt safe. And so I just want to ask for prayers going out this week for a safe and sane transfer of power in our government. Knowing that everybody involved is safe and is using their mind in a safe way. And so I give thanks for this service. I give thanks for this time together, because it is sacred time. And so with that,
Ashe. Amen.
Amen.
And so it is.
So
So
it
it
is.
is.
See you next week.